Like with Michael Olise, he's dealing with the move to Manchester United and Chelsea. Now, Fabrizio Romano has come out and said it's only these two teams who are really in for him. It's either United or Chelsea, nobody else. So, more than likely, he will be leaving Crystal Palace this summer, and I think he needs to. Olise is so underrated. He is a very good player, and he's been at Palace for a few seasons now. He's 22 years old, and I think that he's coming off of a good season. It's time for him to leave. It's time for him to make that move to a big club. Now, when you have a team like Man United and Chelsea, both of these teams are looking to rebuild, and neither of them are in their glory days, right? So it's going to be a project that he's going to have to buy into, that they're going to have to sell him on. And I think the obvious choice is Man United between these two, because automatically he's their best winger out of their current crop of players. He starts, and he can be one of their marquee signings of the Ineos era, because this will be their first transfer window at the club. And the fastest way to get fans on side is by bringing them new shiny toys. And I think Olise would be a toy that these fans would love to have, because, as I said, he's a really good player. Now, usually we don't see technical players do well at Manchester United, right? It seems like they just don't last for some weird reason. But I think the way that Ineos want to go in the future, things are going to change. I can definitely see them playing possession-based football next season. And if I'm Manchester United, not only would I sign Olise, but I would go to Mason Mount and take that number 7 off him immediately. He should have never gotten that number to begin with. Let Mason Mount go back to being like number 19 or whatever he was wearing at Chelsea. Number 7 should be for Olise if you guys do sign him. And I think people are saying that he grew up a Man United fan as well. It just makes the most sense over Chelsea. Now, personally, I would tell him to not go to any of these clubs right now. I would tell him stay at Palace and just wait it out in the summer, because I think other elite clubs will check in on him as the window is going, unless one of these two teams sign him very early. I think teams like Bayern Munich, maybe Arsenal, maybe even Man City, PSG, I don't know, they might look around and say, yo, he has a release clause of 60 million. That's good business for a player of his caliber, because the transfer market is super inflated now. But yeah, just when it comes down to United or Chelsea, yeah, United makes the most sense. And the reason why I'm not saying Chelsea, even though you guys know I like this Chelsea squad, I think that they do have a bright future. And I think that Chelsea will probably be the third best team in England next season. The reason why, if I'm Olise, you do not go to Chelsea is because they have Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer was arguably the best right winger in the league last season. He's the face of that club, and he occupies the same spaces that Olise does. They both play on that right side. Go check their heat maps. They can both play in an attacking midfielder role, and they both play right wing, right mid. So if he goes to Chelsea, are you going there to be on the bench? Or are they going to put you on the left wing? Because you didn't really play on that left this season. Barely. So it wouldn't make sense for them to buy you by seeing what you did on the right and then putting you on the left. Because clearly, you're more comfortable on that right side of the attack. On top of that, Chelsea have a lot of wingers at that club already. You got Cole Palmer, Madueke, Mudryk, Raheem Sterling. They just spent like 65 million to sign Estevão Willian, the young kid from Brazil who's going to join after next season. And he's a right winger. What are Chelsea doing? This is Wingers FC. They don't need Olise. He is a good player, yes, but they don't need him. If they're going to be spending 60 million, that has to go towards Ivan Toney, a striker, somebody that can bag them goals, because that's what they needed last season. Olise is more of a player that is going to be a creator, but they already have players that can create. They need somebody to put the ball into the back of the net. And again, they have Cole Palmer, who plays in the same exact positions as Olise does. Go check the heat maps. So I think Chelsea will be better than Man United next season, because I think Chelsea are going to come third. I'm just calling that out right now. I think Chelsea will be the third best team in England. But I think Man United's future is a bit better, because I like what Ineos have done so far. And at Chelsea, like, yeah, Todd Bowley's there. They spent a lot of money, but I still have to see what direction they're going to be in or what their long-term future will be like. I just like their current crop of players. But this team could look completely different in a few seasons. But yeah, man, Olise, my guy. I mean, it's so weird that he didn't get called up for the Euros because he can play for a few different teams. He can play for England. He can play for Nigeria. And I also think he could play for France. Now, obviously, Nigeria, they're not in the Euros. They're in what is it? They're in Africa. So he didn't get called up for the AFCON, maybe because he didn't want to, maybe because he was waiting to see if he gets called up for England or France. And neither of those countries have called him up, which is weird. It's very surprising. Like, if I was a national team that can bring him, I'd be trying to do everything that I can to get him into the side. I'm surprised that England didn't bring him, though. I think he's quality, and he's a player that I like to watch. And I think the way that Oliver Glasgow, the new Crystal Palace manager, has had them playing since he came in February, like Olise, Eze, Mateta, these guys were cooking. They were balling out. So, look, he needs to go to a team that's going to play that style of football. He needs to be in a team that's going to want to have possession, that's going to let him slow down the game, link play, carry the ball, because that's what he's good at. So, we'll see. I think Man United should be the obvious choice here because there's going to be less competition for him to start. And I think he would immediately be their best winger. Now, maybe you could say they still have Sancho, who's going to come back from loan. Who knows what happens with him? And then what's going to happen with Mason Greenwood? Maybe they decide to bring him back. I have no idea. But yeah, I think Olise would pick United over Chelsea mainly because of Cole Palmer. I just don't think that Chelsea need him either. They need a striker, not another winger. But yeah, Olise is a very good player. I think very underrated. And let me know where you guys think he should go. Like, which club should sign him.